November 20th, 1978, Monday Night Football. The Houston Oilers versus the Miami Dolphins. Earl Campbell walked onto that field at the Astrodome and did something that still makes grown men shake their heads in disbelief. 199 yards, 4 touchdowns. And he didn't just run past the Dolphins defense. He ran through them, over them. He left defensive backs lying on the turf wondering what the hell just hit them. The Miami Dolphins had no answer. Hell, nobody did. If you watched football in the late 70s and early 80s, you already know what I'm about to tell you. But if you're younger, if you only know running backs who dance and juke and slide out of bounds, you need to understand something. There was a time when a running back could make an entire defense afraid. Not respect him, not game plan for him. Afraid, genuinely afraid to tackle him. That running back was Earl Campbell, and he might be the most violent player to ever carry a football. Earl Campbell came out of the University of Texas in 1978. He just won the Heisman Trophy, and it wasn't even close. At Texas, he'd become a legend, but the NFL was different, bigger, faster, meaner. When the Houston Oilers selected him first overall in the 1978 draft, some scouts wondered if his style would translate. He wasn't the fastest back. He ran a 4.640. In today's NFL, that's a fullback's time, maybe a linebacker. But Earl Campbell didn't need to outrun you. He needed to get to you, and God help you when he did. His rookie season answered every question anyone ever had. 1,450 rushing yards, 13 touchdowns, Rookie of the Year, MVP of the entire league. In his first year, let that sink in. A rookie running back winning MVP. It's only happened a handful of times in NFL history. And Earl did it, playing in an era when defensive backs could mug receivers, when linebackers could headhunt, when the NFL was basically legalized violence. There were no roughing the passer calls protecting quarterbacks. There were no targeting rules protecting anyone. You got hit, you got up, or you got carried off. Earl Campbell didn't just survive in that era. He thrived. He dominated. He made other men look small. Let me tell you about that Monday night game against Miami. The whole country was watching. Howard Cosell on the call. The Dolphins came in with a defense that had been solid all year. Didn't matter. First quarter, Earl broke through the line, stiff-armed a linebacker into the dirt, and rumbled 28 yards for a touchdown. The Dolphins knew what was coming. Every single play they knew. Earl Campbell up the middle, Earl Campbell off tackle, and they still couldn't stop him. Second touchdown, third touchdown, fourth touchdown, 199 yards when the final whistle blew, 1 yard short of 200, and Bum Phillips pulled him out of the game. The Oilers were up big and there was no need to risk injury. Earl didn't complain. That wasn't his style. But the whole country had just witnessed something special. A running back who treated NFL defenders like tackling dummies. Then came the 1979 season against the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay had the #1 ranked defense in the NFL that year. Leroy Selman anchoring the line. A defense that had been suffocating teams all season. Earl Campbell rushed for 203 yards. Against the best defense in football. He had a carry in that game where 4 Buccaneers hit him at the line of scrimmage. 4 grown men, professional football players, and Earl kept his legs churning. He dragged them 5 more yards before they finally brought him down. After the game, a Tampa Bay defender said he'd never been hit that hard by anyone. Not a linebacker, not a safety. A running back had punished him worse than anyone in his career. But his most unforgettable performance might have been against the Rams in 1979. Monday Night Football again. The whole country watching again. This time, Earl put up 201 yards. He had touchdown runs of 61 yards and 27 yards. On the 61-yarder, he ran over a defensive back so hard the man's helmet flew off. Just flew right off his head. The defender was done for the night. Earl kept playing. That was the difference. Earl Campbell ended careers. He ended games. He ended the will of entire defenses to keep fighting. Here's what separated Earl Campbell from every other running back in the league. Those thighs. If you watched him play, you remember them. 36-inch thighs. The biggest anyone had ever seen on a running back. Maybe the biggest anyone has seen since. Those thighs were pistons. They generated power that defensive backs simply couldn't handle. When Earl lowered his shoulder and drove those legs, physics took over. It didn't matter how good your technique was. It didn't matter how much you wanted to make the tackle. Earl Campbell was going to move you. The question was just how far. But it wasn't only the physical tools. Earl had a running style that was unique. He didn't try to avoid contact. He sought it out. Most running backs see a defender in front of them, and they plant a foot, make a cut, try to slip past. Earl saw a defender and attacked him. He'd lower that shoulder, explode through the hips, and deliver a blow. Running backs aren't supposed to deliver blows. They're supposed to take them. Earl Campbell flipped that entire concept on its head. He was the hammer. Everyone else was the nail. Bum Phillips, his coach in Houston, said it best. Earl may not be in a class by himself, but whatever class he's in, it don't take long to call the roll. That's country wisdom right there. But it was true. Earl Campbell was a category of one. You couldn't compare him to other backs because other backs didn't play the way he played. O.J. Simpson was smooth and fast. Tony Dorsett was quick and elusive. Walter Payton was versatile and tough. Earl Campbell was a wrecking ball. Pure violence. Pure punishment. His teammates saw it every day in practice. And make no mistake, Earl went hard in practice too. He didn't take plays off. He didn't jog through drills. Every carry was full speed, full contact. Mike Munchak, the Hall of Fame guard who blocked for Earl, remembered what it was like. He said Earl was the only running back who scared his own teammates. The offensive linemen would make their blocks and then get out of the way. You did not want to be between Earl Campbell and the end zone, not even if you were on his team. If you're comparing him to today's game, think Derrick Henry. That's the closest comparison we have. A big physical back who punishes defenders and wears them down. But here's the difference. Derrick Henry is 6'3", 247 pounds. Earl Campbell was 5'11", 232 pounds. Shorter, stockier, lower center of gravity. And Earl was doing this in an era when defenders could hit you however they wanted. There were no helmet-to-helmet penalties. There were no defenseless player rules. Safeties launched themselves like missiles. Linebackers went head-hunting every play. And Earl Campbell, 5'11" Earl Campbell, made them all pay for trying to tackle him. The one thing Earl could do that nobody else could? Break arm tackles. It sounds simple. Every running back breaks some arm tackles. But Earl broke all of them. You could not tackle Earl Campbell with your arms. It was physically impossible. Defenders learned quickly that if they wanted to bring him down, they had to sacrifice their body. They had to throw themselves at his legs and pray. Even then, sometimes Earl would keep churning, keep driving. He'd carry one defender for 5 yards and dare the next man to try his luck. Between 1978 and 1980, Earl Campbell rushed for 5,081 yards, 3 consecutive rushing titles, back-to-back Offensive Player of the Year awards, an MVP trophy, numbers that are staggering even today. But here's what makes it truly insane. The 1978 season was 16 games. But in 1978, teams didn't throw the ball 40 times a game. They didn't spread you out with 4 and 5 receiver sets. Defenses knew the run was coming. They stacked the box. 8 men, sometimes 9. And Earl Campbell still averaged 4.3 yards per carry behind those stacked boxes. He still led the league in rushing against defenses that were designed specifically to stop him. The Oilers went to the AFC Championship game twice with Earl leading the charge. They came within 1 game of the Super Bowl, twice. The Love Ya Blue era in Houston. Fans packed the Astrodome wearing those powder blue jerseys, and Earl Campbell was the heart of everything. The city loved him because he played football the way Houston wanted it played. Tough, physical, no excuses, no backing down. You hit Earl and Earl hit back harder. But that punishing style came with a cost. Earl Campbell's body broke down. All those collisions, all those defenders launching themselves at his legs. By 1984, his knees were shot. The Oilers traded him to New Orleans and he played 1 more season before retiring. His career was essentially 8 years, with the dominant peak being just 4 seasons. From 1978 to 1981, Earl Campbell was arguably the most dominant offensive player in football. Then the injuries piled up. His body had absorbed too much punishment. Here's the tragedy of Earl Campbell. The same style that made him legendary destroyed him physically. In his later years, Earl needed help walking. He dealt with chronic pain, spinal stenosis, nerve damage, the price of playing football the way he played it. Earl never complained publicly, never demanded the NFL do more for former players, never played the victim. That wasn't his style. He took his punishment during his career and after with the same quiet dignity he showed on the field. Earl Campbell was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1991. First ballot, no debate. His numbers were undeniable. 9,407 career rushing yards, 74 touchdowns, 3 rushing titles, an MVP. But his bust in Canton doesn't capture what made him special. You had to watch him play. You had to hear the sound when he collided with a linebacker. You had to see defenders grabbing at air as Earl drove forward. The statistics tell you he was great. The film tells you he was terrifying. His legacy lives on in every power back who came after him. Every time you see a running back lower his shoulder and refuse to go down, you're watching Earl Campbell's influence. Every time a back chooses violence over finesse, that's Earl's DNA in the sport. Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare, Jerome Bettis, the Bus, Marshawn Lynch in beast mode, Derrick Henry today. They all owe something to Earl Campbell. He proved that a running back could dominate not by avoiding contact, but by embracing it, by becoming the most violent player on the field. That's the Earl Campbell story. A running back who didn't just gain yards, he punished anyone who tried to stop him. A man who played with such ferocity that he sacrificed his own body for the game he loved. If you watched him play in those powder blue Oilers jerseys, you never forgot it. If you were a defender who had to tackle him, you really never forgot it. Earl Campbell was football at its most primal. Violence and will and 36-inch thighs driving forward until the whistle blew. They don't make them like Earl Campbell anymore. Maybe they can't. Maybe the game has evolved past that style. But for a few glorious years in Houston, we got to watch a man play running back like it was a combat sport, and he won every single fight. Hit subscribe for more breakdowns of the legends who built this game. Next week, we're going deep on another back who terrorized the NFL. A man who might have been the most elusive runner anyone has ever seen. You won't want to miss it.